Hello everyone, good day, and welcome back to another week of Greek. I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving break and that you were able to spend some quality time with your families and the people that you love. We've just got 1 week here, and then we'll be getting into finals. I will send out a packet of materials which will include a review for the final, and as well as I'll indicate when that all is due. I'll tell you right now, the final will be due at the end of finals week. Pretty much, I'll need a couple of days to look over those and assign grades. But I'll give you pretty much all of finals week. I think our exam was scheduled for Tuesday, if we were meeting in class. But yeah, you can have the entire week to take to do whatever you need to do. If you have stuff that you need to catch up on, work that you had not turned in yet, go ahead and get that done, and I will take those until until the end, right up until the end of next week. So do what you can, to get any back work in, and as well as the Chapter 9 materials and the final. And we'll get you through this, okay? But yeah, we have one more chapter to cover, and that is Chapter 9. Chapter 9 is dealing with a new category of words here called personal pronouns, and a few words on pronouns in general. Pronouns are a type of word in English. They take the place of a noun, normally to just avoid sort of repetition, okay, in either within a sentence or a clause or several sentences. And I've given you a couple of examples here. One example would be if you said something like, Jesus went to the city, and then Jesus spoke to a crowd, Jesus healed the sick. If it is obvious that you are talking about the same person, you can replace that noun with a pronoun. So, for example, with those three sentences, we could also say, Jesus went to the city, he spoke to a crowd, he healed the sick. And you would understand that the he is referring to Jesus, but just so that you don't have to repeat that noun over and over, you can use instead a pronoun. And yeah, we would understand that this pronoun now is replacing that noun, and it just sounds a little bit smoother, a little bit easier, and Greek has these pronouns, and they're used in the exact same way. Personal pronouns do have gender, number, and case. The gender, number, and case only comes into effect in one of the personal pronoun categories, but they also have first, second, and third person. The third person personal pronouns do have gender, number, and case, whereas the first and second person only have number and case. Okay, first and second person pronouns do not have gender. They're just kind of gender neutral, whereas the third person does have gender, and then the other two categories as well. So the first person personal pronouns are I in the singular or we in the plural. Then second person, you and you. In English, there's no distinction, but in Greek there is a plural you. And then the third person, you have he, she, and it in the singular and they in the plural. All right, so that's some of an introduction to these personal pronouns. Let's start then into looking at what these forms of these pronouns are. So I mentioned that first person pronouns do not have gender, but they do have case and they do have number. Okay, so there are singular and plural forms. It's nominative, genitive, dative, accusative. And so here are those forms. In the nominative singular for the first person, it is the word ego. Think of the word ego in English, okay? Somebody who has a problem with ego or who is egotistical is somebody who is always thinking about themselves, right? It's I. And so that's a way to remember this, okay? The first person nominative singular is ego, and that means, that's the word for I. All right, now with the genitive, dative, and accusative, notice that here it has this epsilon at the beginning in parenthesis. Similar to the movable nu that you have in some verb forms at the end, this epsilon at the beginning will sometimes appear and sometimes you'll have it without it. Okay. Normally what that means is that the epsilon is indicating that there is emphasis on this. Okay, there's emphasis on this pronoun. And so what, if you see this, the pronoun in a sentence and it has that epsilon on it, take some special note when you're translating. Okay, the author is wanting to draw some special attention to this pronoun. Okay, if it does not have it, and it just begins with a mu instead, then it's non-emphasized. Okay, and the word is just kind of there, and you can just translate it like a regular pronoun. For whatever reason, when these pronouns are used in prepositional phrases, they normally have that emphatic form with the epsilon. Okay, I don't know why that is. You do not need to translate them as emphatic when they are with prepositional phrases. They just normally have them, and yeah, I don't know. It's just a convention that the Greeks used, that they would use that emphatic form in a prepositional phrase, but not necessarily conveying that emphasis. So, for example, I have on the very bottom of this, the note is what I just explained. For example, the prepositional phrase, in me, like Jesus would say something like, abide in me. I will abide in, you abide in me, and I will abide in you, in John chapter, what is that, chapter 15, I believe. And so in that prepositional phrase, in me, okay, the way that you express that is en. The preposition en means in. And then the dative form, en always takes the dative, so you need the dative form. Okay? And if it's a first-person singular pronoun, then that form is emoi. Okay? And so then, yeah, you'd have that epsilon at the beginning, but that does not indicate emphasis here, is just because it is with the prepositional phrase. So that's an explanation of why that epsilon is in parentheses with the genitive, dative, and accusative. Now let's go to the forms themselves. Okay, the genitive singular is emu. If it's not emphasized, then it would just be mu. And this is translated of me. The genitive forms can also be possessive, and so that also means my. Okay. Then the dative, emoi is the dative form, or just moi in the non-emphatic. To me is how you translate that one. And then the accusative, eme, the unemphasized form is meh. And notice with the unemphatic form, that's really convenient, isn't it? Mu epsilon looks exactly like the English me, and that's exactly what it means. Okay, and so if you see this word, mu epsilon, that is, you can literally just translate it right across, and it just means me. Okay, the object form of the first person singular pronoun. If it is emphatic, then it's emme, and it's a little bit harder to recognize. But yeah, hopefully that one will not give you any trouble, because that's just about the easiest word to translate in Greek, because it pretty much looks exactly like it does in English. Okay. Now moving from the singulars then to the plurals, we have the plurals look really strange, okay, but this is kind of a standard way. You'll see in the second person. It's very nice to get these memorized. Okay, so the nominative plural for the first person pronoun is hey mace. It's got a rough breathing mark, notice, at the beginning, and so it's got the H sound, hey, and then hey mace, and that is translated we. Then the genitive plural always, always, always has an omega nu. Okay, never changes from that, and this one is no exception. Okay, the genitive plural is haemon, haemon, and that means of us, or the possessive pronoun our. Then the dative plural is haemin, haemin, and this means to us. Dative, to, by, or for. Then so you have to, us. And then accusative, he mas. He mas. And that one is us, the object form of we. Yeah, notice that here, this is one of the few places in English where you do have case. Okay, the case actually changes with these pronouns, even in English. You almost never see this. The subject and the object forms of most words are the same. But here in the first person pronoun, you have I as the subject and me as an object, we in the plural as the subject, and us as the object. All right, so there is the chart of the first person pronouns, and again, take note of that, the note that I have at the bottom about explaining about those emphatic forms, showing emphasis, and also with prepositional phrases. Okay, so you've got a couple of alternate forms in there with the singulars, but yeah, they're pretty easy, just putting an epsilon at the beginning. Note that only takes place in the genitive, dative, and accusative. All right, that does not happen in the nominative. The nominative never drops off the epsilon. It is always ego in the nominative, whether you are using it for emphasis or not. All right, so memorize those really well. We will be seeing these first-person pronouns a lot from here on out. Okay, we're just learning these in Chapter 9, but from now on, you're going to see these all the time. You know, these pronouns are very they're very common in all of the first, second, and third person. All right, now moving on to the second person for the word you. Notice these ones here. Once you memorize the first person, the second person is pretty simple. Okay? It follows a pretty standard pattern with the first person pronouns. Takes the same kind of endings. Okay, and with the plurals, they're almost completely identical. You're just changing the beginning vowel. But let's look at these. First, the singular forms. The nominative singular is su, sigma, upsilon, which means you. Then the genitive singular is pronounced the exact same way. Okay, sigma, omicron, upsilon is also pronounced su. Okay, the only difference is that omicron in the middle there from the nominative. And the genitive singular of you or your. Then the dative singular, soy, to you. And the accusative, se, you. Here, there's no change from the subject or object forms. Notice, the genitive, dative, and accusative, those endings are the exact same endings as the first-person pronouns. I'll go back here. Notice the first-person pronouns, emu, emoi, eme, in the genitive, dative, and accusative. And here you have su, soy, and se. So once you memorize the first person, the second person should be pretty simple. You just have that nominative singular to deal with, which looks different. Okay, ego in the first person and su in the second person. Now moving to the plurals, notice the plurals are exactly the same. We're just changing that beginning vowel. Wherever there was an eta in the first person, there's now an upsilon in the second person. You still have the rough breathing mark, and so these are all going to be pronounced with the H sound. Here, the nominative plural, first person was hemes. Here in the second person, it's humes. Yeah, you plural. Genitive plural, humon, of you or your, again in the plural. Dative plural is humin, to, by, or for you. And then the accusative plural, humas, object form of you. That is the second person, and again, very similar to the first person. The book gives you a way to memorize these, although I don't know how helpful it will be. It might just be easier to memorize the forms, but the book tells you that one way to memorize this is to look at the definition in the plurals Because the plurals look so similar, it can be kind of easy to get them mixed up. Look at the word we in English, the nominative plural. Okay, we ends in an E, which is the first letter of the name of the Greek letter, eta. All right, so the English word we ends in an E, which is the first letter of the name in Greek, okay, eta. So the first person, we, begins with an eta. In the second person, it's you, and U is the last letter of the English is U, and U is the first letter of the Greek name of that letter, upsilon. Okay. So yeah, that's possibly one way to do it. I don't know if you'll need to do that. It's probably just easier to memorize that, what the forms are. But the book gives that to you, and I don't know, maybe it will help someone. So yeah, again, you just take the last letter of the English definition, and that gives you the name of the first letter in Greek, okay, or that's the first letter of the name in Greek. Okay, we ends in an E, which gives you eta. U ends in a U, which gives you upsilon. All right, that is the first and second person pronouns, very closely related. When we move to the third person, as you will see, now it just throw that entire thing out. Okay, the third person pronouns do their own thing. Although this should be pretty familiar to you, this third person pronoun chart now has gender, so we're going to have masculine and feminine and neuter forms. Those are going across the top there. You see masculine, feminine, neuter. They are also going to have case, nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, and number, singular and plural. This chart looks really big and scary, but if you have your forms memorized from chapter 6, the adjective forms, these shouldn't be difficult. Okay, or if you know your nouns, first and second declension nouns, again, then these forms should be simple. Okay. So let's go the masculine first. Nominative singular masculine, autos. That ending there should be familiar to you by now. And this means he. Then genitive singular, autou, of him, or his would be fine as well. I ran out of room there. I couldn't put his, but his would be fine. Dative singular, auto, omega with an iota subscript. Please note the iota subscript there. Don't forget to put that one on there when it's called for. Dative singular, to him. And accusative singular, auton. Okay, him. And then the masculine plural, let's go down there. These endings should be also very familiar here. Nominative plural, autoi, for they. Genitive plural, auton, that omega nu is always for the genitive plural, and that means of them or their, T-H-E-I-R, I should clarify that. Okay, then you have dative plural, autois, to them, and accusative plural, autus, which is them. Let's skip the feminine for now because the neuter are very closely related to the masculine. These are kind of like the second declension neuter nouns, except you do have a slight change. Normally in the neuter nouns, you have an omicron nu at the end of the nominative singular, but here it's simply an omicron. Okay, so take note of that one. That is slightly different from the noun forms. Okay, auta as the nominative singular neuter. If you know the nominative singular, you also know the accusative singular. Notice that one down to the bottom of the singular list. Auta is the nominative. Auta is the same in the accusative. Okay, right? Because the neuter, nominative, and accusative forms are the same. Then the genitive and dative are the same as the masculine. Okay, so you have autou, of it, and auto, to it. Then moving to the plurals, you have auta with an alpha, they, And then auta in the accusative is the same, because, again, nominative and accusative are the same in both the singular and the plural. So auta, that form with the alpha ending, can be they or them, if it is neuter. And then the middle forms, genitive and the dative, are the same as the masculine auton, of them, and autois, to them. Now let's pick up the feminine. These follow the first declension pattern. Tau is not epsilon, iota, or rho. It is not a sigma or a sound, so it's going to have etas throughout the singular. Aute is the nominative singular, she. And genitive singular, autes, of her. Dative singular, aute, with the eta with the iota subscript, to her. And accusative singular, autain, her. Nominative plurals for the feminine, autai, they. Genitive plural, auton, omega nu always in the genitive plural, of them, autais, to them, and autas, them. Something that I should mention about these third-person pronouns, they do have gender, and so if it's just used by itself, it will mean he, she, or it, him, her, or it, they, and them. But remember that with these, they will be going with nouns, and there are some nouns that are masculine grammatically, but they're actually referring to things, right? So like lithos, the word for rock or stone, is a masculine word. And so if you have lithos and then you have autos replacing the lithos, okay, you don't need to translate that as he. Okay, you can translate that as it. If it is referring to a masculine word, but which is translated as just a thing in English. Okay, you don't need to call a stone he or him. Likewise with the feminine, right? You have some feminine words that are referring to things, like the word for commandment. Okay, entole is commandment, and that is considered a feminine word in Greek, but commandments are not gendered in English. So yeah, again, if you have entole and then later on it's replaced by the pronoun aute, you can just go ahead and translate that as it. Okay, but yeah, you know, if it's related to something that is a person, go ahead and translate it. Yeah, he, she, or it. I guess a person, you wouldn't translate it. So yeah, he or she, they or them. But yeah, you know, if you have a word that is simply grammatically masculine or feminine, but is clearly relating to a thing, then you can translate them, yeah, as it. Okay. But yeah, just as is appropriate, and that should become pretty clear, right? But there are your third-person pronouns. Again, a big, scary 24-form chart. But these are forms that you should be familiar with from chapters 4 and 5, as well as the adjective forms in chapter 6. Okay, those are the forms. Go over those as much as you need. They are on pages, I believe, 65 through 67 in your textbook. Okay. You'll want to get those personal pronoun forms down really well. In previous years, I have told people be very careful with these personal pronouns. For whatever reason, it probably is because it's the very end of the quarter that we're studying these things, but people have a really hard time memorizing these. You know, for some reason, like midway through even like the second quarter, I'm still having to kind of go over these with students, you know, and we'll be doing translation exercises together, and we'll come to, you know, one of these humon, and people will just be staring at this thing going, you know, what is this? Okay. And yeah, I don't know what it is. Again, yeah, it's probably because it's the very end of the quarter, and everybody is just like, you know, you're ready for Christmas vacation already. But yeah, it's somehow difficult to get these forms down, and it would behoove you, if you are planning to continue in Greek study, to get these down really well, because as I said before, these are among the most common words in Greek. They appear all the time, and so the sooner that you can get these down really well, you'll be doing yourself a gigantic favor, not having to kind of flip through your book looking for, these very common words. So yeah, my recommendation is that you take some time over the next couple of weeks to really get these forms down, and yeah, I always kind of give this a chuckle because I know nobody does this. But, if you have some time during Christmas break, maybe take a look at these. If you don't do anything else with Greek over the break, maybe take a look at your personal pronouns, because just people have the hardest time, memorizing these. Whether it's because they're just intrinsically difficult, I don't know. First and second person certainly don't look like anything that you've had before. But yeah, are these things just really difficult, or is it just a matter of, like, you have vacation brain already, and nothing else is going in because you're, like, trying to remember stuff for finals and for term papers and the like. I don't know. But that's just a recommendation from me. Okay, yeah, do what you will with your time, but it will be very helpful to you if you know these. So in using these personal pronouns, here are some things to keep in mind. Once again, the function of a pronoun is to replace a noun to kind of make that sentence or clause sound a little bit less awkward and less stilted. Okay, you don't just have to keep on saying that noun over and over, and you can just kind of replace it, him, her, or it, or he, she, or it. The noun that the pronoun replaces. Okay, in that example that I gave you, Jesus goes to the city, Jesus crosses the sea, Jesus heals people. Then we go, Jesus, crosses the sea, Jesus, he heals them, he does this, he does this. Okay, the noun that the pronoun replaces, in our example, that would be Jesus. Okay, that is called the antecedent. Okay, antecedent means something that comes before. Okay, and so yeah, that is simply the name of the noun that the pronoun replaces. Now, the relationship between a pronoun to its antecedent can be a little bit complicated. Okay, as we saw with adjectives, adjectives must agree with their related nouns in gender, number, and case. Right? If it's dative, feminine, plural. Okay, if the noun is dative, feminine, plural, the adjective then must be dative, feminine, and plural. When we're talking about pronouns and antecedents, the case of a pronoun does not necessarily have to agree. Okay, the pronoun must agree with its antecedent in gender and number. Okay, so if you have a noun that is masculine singular, the pronoun must also be masculine and singular. However, the case of a pronoun can agree, but it can also be different. The case of a pronoun depends on how that pronoun is used in the sentence or the clause. Okay, and so if you have a different way of using the pronoun, then it will not be in the same case. All right, take a look at this example sentence. Ego blepo ton kurion kai pistuo en auto. All right, the translation of this, ego blepo, I see, ton kurion, the Lord, right? Kai is and, pistuo, I believe, and then en auto, in him. Okay, auto is the personal pronoun that we just learned. It is the third person personal pronoun. So take a look at this. Okay, here is auto, that is your pronoun. What is the antecedent here? Okay, auto is a third person pronoun, therefore it has gender and number. The gender of this can be masculine or neuter. The number is singular. Right. And the case is, of course, dative because of the omega with the iota subscript. In order to find the antecedent, then, we are looking for a word that is masculine or neuter, and it needs to be singular. It must agree with its antecedent in gender and number. The only word that fits those categories is the word kurion, okay, ton kurion. It is masculine and it is neuter. Okay, so therefore, there is your antecedent, kurion. All right, does everybody see that? Okay, and of course the English makes it really obvious, right? I see the Lord and I believe in him. Your pronoun is him, so what is that replacing? It is the Lord. You could very easily translate the sentence, I see the Lord and I believe in the Lord. That would mean the same thing. Okay, we're just using the pronoun him to kind of replace that and make it less redundant. So now let's talk about these pronouns and antecedents then. Okay, pronouns used in place of nouns. The antecedent is your noun that it's replacing. Again, that pronoun must agree with its antecedent in gender and number. The case depends on how it is being used. Therefore, when we get to this this sentence, why is auto in the case that it is? Okay, kurion is the object of blepo, right? Therefore, that's why it's accusative. Okay, ego blepo ton kurion. I see the Lord. Kurion is the object of blepo, therefore it must appear in the accusative case. Auto, then, is dative. Why is it dative? Why isn't it accusative? Well, auto is the object of n. Okay, the preposition n. N always takes a dative. Therefore, auto must be dative. Okay, must agree in gender and number, masculine, singular, but it does not necessarily have to agree in case. The case depends on how it is actually used in the sentence. And so in that first clause, I see the Lord is accusative because it is the object of the verb blepo. In the second clause, I believe in him. Him is dative because it is the object of the preposition n, and again, n always takes a dative case. So be kind of careful with these, okay? This can get a little bit tricky. And when you had the definite article or the adjective, those are pretty easy to tell, right, which noun they go with because they must agree in gender, number, and case. With these ones here, these pronouns, they do not have to agree in case, so you might have to do a little bit of searching for the pronoun, for the antecedent, rather. Okay. But we'll go over these. We'll go over a number of practice sentences so that you can kind of get some practice and hopefully get used to this. All right. So those are some rules on using the pronouns and the antecedents. Now, a few more things about these personal pronouns. First thing to note is that Greek verbs don't require these pronouns, right? We've been using these pronouns before. We've been translating them into English, but even though we haven't had the actual Greek words, because you can get these pronouns out of the verbs. The Greek verb luo does mean the pronoun is in there. Okay, the I is part of luo. Okay, so luo is I loose. Lues, you loose. Lue, he, she, or it looses. Okay, so we didn't need these pronouns. We didn't need to know, what these pronouns were in Greek because you can just get them out of the verb form. However, you do now have these pronouns, okay, first, second, and third person. And so take note of this second rule, okay? If the personal pronoun is in fact used with a verb as the subject, it then indicates an emphasis on that subject. Okay, I'll say that again. The verb does not require a personal pronoun with it. The personal pronoun is included in the verb. But if you do have that personal pronoun stated, it indicates some kind of emphasis. Okay, take note of that in your translation. You don't have to, you can sort of underline it, or there isn't a really great way to do that in English. But certainly if you're translating in the Bible text, and you see that, we have ego or su or autos or, one of these forms used with that verb, take note of it. Okay, and if you're preaching a sermon on it or something, you can tell your congregation, that, yeah, for some reason, this author wanted to emphasize that, this is, I am doing this. So, for example, look at the example sentence there, ego de lego humin, something that Jesus says a lot in the Gospels. Okay. Notice lego humin would be totally fine to express this, okay? Just having lego there means I say. But if you put the ego there, that is the actual Greek word for I. And so the presence of ego there means that there's an emphasis on this I. Okay, so, but I say to you. Kind of, the idea of this would be something like, if Jesus is saying this, he's meaning, that I am saying this to I and nobody else. Okay, Jesus is taking like full responsibility for saying this thing. All right, and that goes for any of the others too. Okay, if you have a second person verb, lego leges, okay, is the second person form of that. If you have su with the leges, that is, emphasizing you say. If it's autoi, they, and it's a plural, legusin, okay, and you actually do have that autoi stated, then it's they say, and there's an emphasis on the they. All right, so yeah, again, these personal pronouns are redundant. You do not actually need them to do the translation, but if you do see them, it's oftentimes helpful to kind of take note that there is some kind of emphasis going on here. We went over this in the forms, but something to take note of. The genitive case personal pronouns, mu, su, tu, autes, okay, any of those genitive ones, they can be used just as possessive pronouns. Okay, you don't have to always say like of me, of you, of them. Okay, you can just translate this as a personal pronoun, my, your, our, or their. So, for example, ha logos mu, you can translate that the word of me, or you can simply translate that my word. Ta biblion autes can be translated the book of her, or simply her book. All right, and yeah, you can do that either way that you want. I will not take off credit if you do it one way or the other. It's probably easier to do it just as a possessive, but if you want to make sure you're doing this absolutely correctly, yeah, go ahead and translate it as a genitive. Of me, of you, of them, or you can use the possessive pronouns: my, you, my, your, their, etc. Now, up until now, hopefully these pronouns have been pretty straightforward. This is the one place where this chapter gets really kind of confusing and difficult. Okay? And this is what is called special uses of autos. And if you want to look this up in the book, it is pages 68 and 69. Okay. With autos, normally it is simply the third person personal pronoun. He, she, it, they. But, yeah, there are a couple of these special uses where it starts to get really weird. Okay, and so autos, and I put the feminine and the neuter forms there too. Autos, aute, auta. This can be used actually as an adjective. Okay, yeah, this normally personal pronoun can be used as an adjective if autos is used in the attributive position. And if you need to remember what that is, you can go back to the discussion on chapter 6. Okay. Autos can be used in the attributive position with an article and a noun, in which case its meaning changes to same. Okay, it means the same. No longer he, she, or it. It means same. Okay, and it's same as in like it's describing something. Okay, the same book, the same woman, the same church. All right, that is if it is used with an article and another noun, and it is in the attributive position. Okay, either between the article and the noun, or used with a duplicate article. Okay, and yeah, back in chapter 6, that's where I talk about that one. On the other hand, if autos is used in the predicate position, okay, now outside of the article-noun group, but it is used in conjunction with an article and a noun, it now means himself, herself, itself, or themselves. All right. Once again, attributive and predicate means that autos then must agree in gender, number, and case with the article and the noun that it is together with, or it's associated with. Okay. Again, in the attributive position, it is an adjective meaning the same. If it is in the predicate position, it's an intensifier. It means himself, herself, itself, or themselves. Okay, and that self at the end just kind of intensifies it. Okay, he himself. Okay, Paul himself. Priscilla herself. Okay, wrote this. Intensifying that. So it's one thing to talk about this. Let's look at some examples, especially if you need to be reminded of what attributive and predicate means. So look at the first example there. Ha autos anthropos. Now, all of these forms is really easy to note, right? All of the endings are the same. They are all masculine singular nominative. And notice autos is in between ha and anthropos. Therefore, it's attributive. And in that case, autos means the same. So this means ha anthropos is the human being, and then autos is the same. The same human being, the same person, the same man. Look at the second example there. Ta doron ta auta. Once again, these are all neuter forms. They are neuter, singular, nominative, or accusative. And here auta is outside of the initial article noun grouping, ta doron. But then that second ta kind of pulls it in, and it makes it still attributive. Okay, with that duplicated article, it is attributive. And so then, therefore, ta doron means the gift, and the auta there makes it the same gift, okay, because it is attributive. In the third example, aute he ge. Notice aute is outside of the article noun group. He ge is the article noun. Aute is sitting in front of that. Therefore, this is in the predicate position. In which case, this means self. Okay, so this would then mean he ge is the earth, and aute would make it the earth itself. Okay, the earth itself. How would this be used? Something like, the earth itself groans in labor pains, waiting for the second coming. Some kind of an idea like that. And that sounds at least like sort of a New Testament idea. And that this is how it would be expressed. Okay, aute hege, the earth itself. Last example there, ha lithos autos. All agree in gender, number, case. This is all masculine singular nominative. Ha lithos is the noun and article. Autos is sitting there outside of that article noun group. Therefore, it is in the predicate position here. And so this means ha lithos, the stone. Autos makes it the stone itself. And here you go. I'll just run through this again. Autos anthropos is attributive. the same human being or the same man. Ta doron ta auta, also attributive because of that second ta, the same gift. Aute hege is now predicate because the aute is outside of that, the earth itself. And ha lithos autos, also predicate because the autos is outside. Autos is appearing after the article noun group, and so this means the stone itself. Okay, do you see this, how this works? Okay, attributive position, the same, and it's the same whatever this is, okay, the same gift. If it is predicate, it is intensifying this, and it means self, okay, the earth itself. All right, special uses of autos. These aren't super common. The attributive same autos is used a bit more, but the predicate autos does appear every once in a while, and it's important to know. Now here's something. Be careful with that third person or that intensive autos. Okay, normally, again, autos is the third-person pronoun, and it simply will function as the subject of a third-person verb. So in this example, autos ginoske, notice ginoske has that third-person ending, he, she, or it knows. And then you have autos, okay, actually that should be he, because, sorry, that's a masculine, so that should be he knows. But yeah, so you have the autos, it is third person, it matches up with the third person verb, and you can simply translate that he knows, okay? However, as I've noted here, on occasion, autos can be used as the intensifier. And be really careful with these, okay, especially when you have autos used with a first or a second person verb. Okay, I every once in a while I'll run into this and I'll be sitting there puzzling over this for a while. Okay, so for example, if you have autos lego, okay, lego is first person, I speak or I say. So why is autos there? Okay, autos is third person. Okay, this should be ego, right? Ego lego would mean I say. But here it says autos, okay? Autos is third person, lego is first person, so what's going on? What this is really saying is, and I put here, autos lego means the same thing as autos ego lego. Okay, that ego gets not said, okay, and the autos sort of takes its place. But in this case, what's happening here is that autos is intensifying the ego. Okay, so autos lego does not mean he, I say. Okay, it is simply intensifying it, so it simply says I myself say. Okay, autos lego. Again, so you have lego, it's first person verb, first person singular verb, sorry. And then you have autos there, a third person singular pronoun. Why is that there? Why doesn't it match up third person to first person? Okay. In this case, it is simply intensifying that first person. Okay, so autos lego is the same thing as autos ego lego, which means I myself say. Then the second example there, autos leges. Again, you have a problem here, right? Leges is second person, singular, and autos is third person, singular. But here, once again, autos is emphasizing or intensifying the pronoun you. So it's you yourself say. And then look at the last one, autoi legamen. Okay, autoi is plural, but it is third person plural, and legamen is first person plural. So what's happening here? It actually means autoi hemes legamen, which is we ourselves say. All right, fortunately, I have not run into this a whole lot, okay, this sort of autos being used with other other person, except not third person. But if you ever see that, okay, and you see autos, which is third person, it doesn't match up to the verb somehow. Okay, it's trying to go with a verb that's not third person. Then take the autos as the intensifier. Okay, so then it means self, either self or selves, plural. All right, and yeah, if we come up to that, I will certainly point that out to you so you can see it. I don't know if it appears in any one of the practice sentences. Okay. But yeah, that is chapter 9. Okay, personal pronouns. So main thing is go over the forms. Okay, and the basic endings of these, and as long as you can recognize these, then you're well on your way. Okay, and you'll get plenty of practice because these things appear all the time. But let's go over then some of these practice sentences. I'm going to go over a number of them. I think I've got 7 of them on here. Normally I do about 3 or 4 with you, but I wanted to make sure that we took some time with these. So the first one, number 1, is the longest sentence that we've had in a long time, maybe ever, okay, in these translation exercises. But you have here, genoskusin, hoi mathetai, su, ton apostolon, kai agusin, auton, eis ton oikon auton. All right, once again, genoskusin hoi mathetai su, ton apostolon, kai agusin auton, eis ton oikon auton. Yeah, that second line is all part of the sentence. Okay. So what's the first thing that we do? Well, the first thing that we do, we're going to get all the forms of our words. So let's go over these. Genoskusin is a verb. Look at the ending there. It is a third person plural ending, and the stem is unchanged. It is from genosko, therefore it is present. Okay. Verb, third person plural, present tense. Hoi is a definite article found in chapter 5, and the gender is masculine, it is plural, and the case is nominative. The next word, mathetai, is a noun. It's a first declension noun. First declension masculine noun, which indicates why the ending looks weird. Okay, it does not match up with hoi. That's because it's a first declension masculine noun. But once you know that, you also know that it is plural nominative. So hoi and mathetai are most likely related to each other. Because both of them are masculine plural nominative. Then you have su there. This is a pronoun, one of the ones that we just learned. I think, what is that, on page 66? It's the second person personal pronoun, and this is the genitive singular form. Okay, su. It sounds exactly like the nominative, but the sigma omicron upsilon is the genitive singular. Next word is a definite article. It is masculine, singular, and accusative. Good bet that the next word is also masculine, singular, and accusative, and sure enough, you have it here. Okay, apostolon, it's a noun, and those two go together. Okay, ton apostolon are both masculine, singular, accusative. Kai is a conjunction, which means and. Then the verb, agusin. Okay. Again, it's a third person plural verb. It is unchanged stem, therefore it's present tense. All right, next word, auton. This is a pronoun. It is one of your third person personal pronouns. And it is a singular word, and the case is accusative. Ace is a preposition. So be on the lookout for an object of the preposition. Ace always takes its object in the accusative case. And the sentence then obliges. Okay, ton oikon, those two go together. Ton is a definite article. Oikon is the noun, and both of them are masculine, singular, and sure enough, case is accusative. So there's your object of the preposition. And then the last thing there is the autone. Autone is a pronoun that we've learned in this chapter. It is third person, and the ending there, omega nu, indicates that it is a plural genitive. All right, so there are all of your forms of the words. What happens next? Let's get a rough translation. Okay, genoskusin is from I know. Third person plural means they know. Hoi mathetai, the disciples. Su, of you or your. Then ton apostolon, the apostle. Kai is and. Gusin, third person plural verb, they lead. From ago, I lead. Auton is the object form of the pronoun, so him. Eis ton oikon auton, into the house of them. Okay. Auton being genitive, you can translate of, so into the house of them. Once we get the rough translation, now let's put it all together. Okay. Genoskusin is your verb. You can look for a nominative, and sure enough, right next door is the nominative. So we'll use that as a subject. Okay, hoi mathetai, your disciples. Actually, hoi mathetai su. Okay, the disciples of you is one way to do this, or you can say your disciples. What is it that your disciples are doing? Your disciples know. Then the accusative will give you the object. Okay, ton apostolon. Your disciples know the apostle. Kai agusin auton, and they lead him. Eis ton oikon auton, into the house of them, or into their house. So putting this all together, your disciples know the apostle and lead him into their house. Okay. Yeah, your disciples is the nominative, because therefore it's the subject. Your disciples know. Accusative, the apostle. And they lead auton, him, eis ton oikon auton, into the house of them, or into their house. Okay, sentence number 2. Didasko tous huius mu, kai lego autois ton logon tu theu. Didasko tous huius. Let me try that again. Didasko tous huius mu, kai lego autois ton logon tu theu. There's your sentence. Now let's get the forms of these words. All right. Didasko is a verb. It is, the ending there is first person singular. It is an unchanged stem, which gives you a present tense. Tous huius are together. Tous, definite article, huius, the noun. Both of these are masculine, plural, accusative. Next word is a pronoun, mu. Notice this is the unemphatic form. Okay, the emphatic form would be emu. Without the epsilon at the beginning, it becomes the unemphasized form. It is a pronoun. It's a first-person pronoun. And the form there, the ending is a genitive singular. Then kai, and. Lego is a verb. It is an unchanged stem. The ending shows that it is first-person singular. And because it's unchanged, it's a present tense. Autois is the pronoun. It's a third-person pronoun. The ending indicates that it is dative and plural. Then ton logon, those two go together, article and noun. The endings both are masculine, singular, and accusative. Tu theu likewise are associated with each other, definite article and noun. Those forms are masculine, singular, and genitive. What are we going to do now? Let's work out a rough translation. Didasko, I teach. Tous huius mu, the sons of me. Kai lego autois, and I speak to them. Ton logon to theou, the word of God, or the word of the God. From there, now we have the forms. We've got the translation words, the vocabulary words. So let's put this all together. Okay. There is no nominative in this sentence, so we need to get the nominative, the subject, out of the verb. Didasco, I teach. Tous vius are the accusative. That's the object, right? So I teach tous vius mu, my sons, or the sons of me. And lego, I speak. Autois is a dative, so therefore you can translate to, by, or for. I speak to autois, to them. One of our pronouns that we've learned, ton logon to theou, the word of God. All right, next sentence here. Ego e mi doulos, su de e ha kurios. All right, let's get all the forms of these words. Ego is a pronoun. It is a first-person pronoun. The form is singular nominative. Mi is your verb. This is a first-person singular. It's a dictionary definition form of the verb. It is present tense. Doulos is a noun. It is masculine, singular, and nominative. Su then is your personal pronoun. It's the second singular pronoun, and it is nominative. De is but, or what are some other choices there? But, and, even, okay, something like that. A is your verb of the second clause. It is second person singular, and it's present. And then hakurios are together, the article and the noun. Both of those are masculine, singular, and nominative. All right, let's work on a rough translation here. Ego, a me, I am. Doulos, a slave. Su de e, but you are the Lord. All right, let's clean this up here. You don't need to have that I am. So when you do your final translation, take note, I said before, if you have a first-person singular verb and you have a first-person singular pronoun there, it is somehow emphasizing that. Okay, ego e me doulos, I, myself, am a slave. Su de e ha kurios, same thing happening here. Okay, notice you have a nominative pronoun with a second singular verb. Therefore, you've got there, su de e ha kurios, but you, emphasis, are the Lord. All right, yeah, so, yeah, here's a good first example of those pronouns being used to give some kind of emphasis. If you were translating this, if you were translating a Bible passage like this, yeah, take note of the emphasis there. Yeah, you do not need the ego. E me doulos just means I am a slave. Okay, but ego, put some kind of emphasis there on the I. Next sentence. Hoi adelphoi hemon, edon hemas, kai edamen autus. This is kind of a funny sentence. You've got several types of pronouns there. They're all coming right after the verbs. So let's see what's going on. First thing, let's get the forms of the words. Hoi adelphoi, article and noun. Both of those are masculine, plural, and nominative. Hemon is a pronoun that we just learned in this chapter. Page 65, hemon is a pronoun. It's a first-person pronoun. And the ending there makes it really easy, right? Genitive plural. Adon. This word you need to be careful of, okay? Adon is a word that we learned back in chapter 7, even though it does not look anything like its dictionary form. Adon is, in fact, a verb. It could be, the ending could be first person singular or third person plural. All right. The tense on this one is an aorist. It's a second aorist verb. Okay, and it's one of those really weird second aorist verbs that changes a whole lot from the dictionary form. The dictionary form, I see, and so this is an aorist, so it means I saw. Okay? It can mean I saw or they saw, because it's either first or third person. The ending is the same either way. Then you have hemas, which is, again, a pronoun, a first-person pronoun. It is plural, and the case is accusative. Kai is and. Then you have the exact same verb as before. Okay, it's just a different ending. So it's a verb. It's first-person plural this time, instead of first-person or third-person. And then the tense again is aorist. Okay, it's a second aorist, just like adon. Autus rounds out the sentence. It's a pronoun. It is a third-person pronoun, and the ending on there gives you a plural accusative, and I did not put that here, but it is masculine. All right, we've got the forms of the words. Now let's work out a rough translation. The brothers, hoi adelphoi, hemon of us. Then adon, as I mentioned before, it can be either first or third person. So if it's first person, I saw, or if it's third person, they saw. Hemos is us. Kai edamen autus, and we saw them. Next thing, let's do a smooth translation or a final translation. Hoi adelphoi is your nominative, so let's use that as a subject. Hoi adelphoi hemon, the brothers of us, or our brothers. Adon is your verb, so our brothers. Now we know, right, what this is. It's not first person singular. It has to be third person plural, because hoi adelphoi is plural. So our brothers saw us, hemos. Kai edamen autus, and we saw autus them. Okay. Our brothers saw us, and we saw them. All right, next sentence here. Axe me hakurios. Autas eistain basi leon autu. Okay. Axe me hakurios autas eistain basi leon autu. First thing, of course, get the forms of the words. Axe is your verb. It is a third person singular. Notice that this is from the verb ago. So ago has a gamma at the end of the stem. So why is there a xi? Okay, so you remember, if we take gamma and add a sigma, the gamma and the sigma combine to form a xi. Therefore, we know this is a future, okay, because of the presence of the sigma at the end of the stem. Me, easiest word in Greek. Me is simply the first person personal pronoun. It's the accusative singular, which means me. Hakurios, these two go together as article noun. They are masculine singular nominative. Autas is a third person pronoun. It is masculine singular nominative as well. Then ace is a preposition. Tain basi leon are your article and noun that go together. That is feminine singular accusative. Autu is your third person pronoun. It is masculine singular genitive. Actually, it could be masculine or neuter. Once you have the forms, you can start working out your translation. Axe, he, she, or it. Future will lead. Okay, so he, she, or it will lead me. Okay. Will lead me. hakurios autos eis tein basilean autou. Hakurios autos is the Lord. Autos is outside of that article noun group. So remember what happens. If you have autos, it agrees with the article and the noun in gender, number, and case, but it is standing outside of that article noun grouping. Okay, that means it is in the predicate position, and therefore it means the Lord himself. Prepositional phrase, eistain basileon autou, into the kingdom of him. All right. Actually, what happened to my rough translation? Do I have no? Oh, there we go. Okay. Axe me hakurios. Okay. He will lead me, the Lord. Then you have autos, himself, into the kingdom of him. Your final translation, the Lord himself, right? That's your nominative. The Lord himself, axe me, will lead me, eistain basileon autou, into the kingdom of him, or into his kingdom. Okay, next sentence. Yeah, we're doing a lot of these. I want to make sure that we're going over these so you have a chance to get to know these prepositions. Okay, su blepses thanaton. Ego de blepso, ego de blepso zoein. Su blepses thanaton, ego de blepso zoein. Notice C on that verb. What does that mean? Okay, so su is your second person pronoun. It is a singular and it's nominative. Then blepses is a verb. The ending is second singular, and notice just like axe in the previous sentence, this one is from blepo. You go to add the sigma to a P at the end of blepo, and you get blepses with a psi, giving you a future tense. Thanaton is a noun. It's masculine, singular, and accusative. All right. Ego is now a pronoun. It's a first-person pronoun, and like su, it's singular and nominative. De is the word but. Blepso, similar to blepses, is going to be a future, except it's first-person singular, right, with that omega ending. And then zoein is a noun. It is a feminine noun, singular and accusative. Once you have that, you can start working out a translation. Su is you. Blepses is you will see. Okay, from blepo, I see. And then blepses, you will see. Thanaton is the word for death. Okay. You will see death. Ego de, but I, blepso, I will see. Zoein is life. Let's clean these up. You don't need to have the duplication on the subject there quite so much. If you have the personal pronoun used with its corresponding verb with the person and number, just take note that it is being emphasized. Okay, su blepses. You, emphasis, will see death. Ego de blepso zoein. But I, myself, will see life. Okay, sounds a little bit like gloating, but, we don't want to do that so much. But anyway, last sentence here. Ha apostolos pistos. Hoi de douloi autou kakoi. Okay, ha apostolos pistos. All of these are masculine singular nominative. Okay. Ha is the article, apostolos, noun, pistos is an adjective. Hoi de douloi autou kakoi. Okay, hoi douloi are both masculine, plural nominative now. We had masculine singular nominative before. This is masculine plural nominative. De is a postpositive, which means it appears second in the Greek clause, but it's translated first. Okay, and it means but or and or something like that. Autou, masculine singular genitive, and notice it is a personal pronoun. And then kakoi is an adjective. It's standing all out there by itself. Kakoi, masculine plural nominative. Okay, work out a rough translation. Notice here there is no verb. Okay, where's the verb in this sentence? We don't have one. So something is going to have to happen. Ha apostolos is the article and noun. Pistos is an adjective. So the apostle is the article and noun, and faithful is the adjective. Second clause, hoi douloi is the slaves. Translate de first in this clause, but the slaves. Autou of him, kakoi, bad. This clause doesn't have a verb either. So now when we go to use the final translation, remember back to chapter 6. Okay, if you have an article and a noun, ha apostolos, and then an adjective which is standing outside of that article noun group, you have a predicate adjective. The way you translate a predicate adjective is you supply a form of to be, and then that's what the adjective is. Okay, apostolos pistos. The apostle is faithful. Okay, that is nowhere in the Greek. You have to supply it, and you can do that because of pistos being outside of the article noun group. Okay, pistos is predicate, therefore it needs to have a verb supplied. Second clause, okay, let's translate de first. But hoi douloi autou, the slaves of him, or his slaves. Hoi douloi autou, his slaves, or you could say the slaves of him. Kakoi, notice this is also outside of the article noun grouping, just like ha apostolos pistos. There's a couple more elements here, but don't get too confused. Okay, we still have hoi douloi as the article noun, and kakoi standing outside of that article noun group. Okay, therefore, that entire sentence is translated, but his slaves are bad. The are has to be supplied, because this is a predicate. All right, kind of a long chapter there, but a lot of that was just going over those practice sentences. So I hope that gave you an ample amount of practice on these personal pronouns. We'll continue to do so for the rest of the year. But that ends chapter 9. Yeah, once again, just work on these. Okay, it is the end of the quarter, I know, but you'll want to get these down really well because they are super important for doing Greek study. All right, everybody, I will send through an email with due dates and, material for chapter 9, as well as the final, final study guide, as well as the actual final. The final open notes, open book, use whatever helps you need, and we'll call that good, and then we'll have the end of this quarter. Okay. All right, thank you for your good work so far, and have a look at chapter 9, know those backwards and forwards, and you'll be doing well. Okay.